Yeah, so when it comes to this piece, oh my god, is my Cintiq not working? What's going on today? Oh, there we go. Okay. Just had to turn it on and off here. So, when I'm looking at old pieces, I have to consider, like, what is working, what isn't. So, last year, was, I was looking into basically this sort of chiaroscuro style. Like if you're not familiar with the term, it's just heavy darks and lights, and it creates a really glowing effect. You might see it in a lot of Renaissance paintings and such. So for me, here I like around this time I was like experimenting with that, and around this time, like right now, is when I started to really uh, fix a lot of things and get certain things done well. So um, there's a lot of things like I feel like are not really working. So like stuff like this is a little bit fuzzy. It's a bit nebulous. While you could get away with rougher brushstrokes and such, it's probably better. It's probably better not to leave those remnants. It's it's a little bit too it's a bit too unclear. So like there's certain things, it's not, and like for this particular piece as well, um, because I am doing a new art book with a story. There's certain elements like for instance this golem here won't be in the background anymore. So I will have to take into consideration like things I'll be removing, just for the sake of story, or things I'll be adding for the sake of story, right? So right off the bat, I'm like, I have to think, okay, is there a way to make this a bit more creative? So there are certain considerations when it comes to that. First of all and foremost, we have to look at the overall composition here. I'm I'm a little bit wary about I'm a little bit wary about the overall composition because it's a little bit too stagnant. Um, so I'm trying to think if there's a way to improve it. Uh, just so like even like for instance, I could do something like this, just a little bit smaller here. Um, so this will. I'm not too sure if this is gonna stick, obviously, but I want to just try it out and see. So the purpose of making it smaller here is just that it's a little bit um just makes it a little bit like she's smaller in this world, so it creates a more interesting effect of um the there's an overarching feeling of the world uh, coming down on her, and it creates that really just even making it a bit smaller will create that feeling to it. So right now as well, like I'm not too fond of having the whole background be very dark here. So I'm looking to see if I could find a way to maybe brighten up the world a little bit. Of course, remove the ominous golem at the background here, and just try to really see if I can make it a bit more atmospheric. Because it should be a very calming environment here. So hopefully, I can make something a little bit more interesting to look at. And of course, in terms of technical lighting as well, I wasn't too happy with this either, just because I feel like if light is coming down on this character, it's this strong of a light, there should be a bit more dusty effects, like even like something like this, just so that it. Now, of course, I'll be fixing this, So right now I'm just it's temporary placeholder here, but I want to add a bit of dusty effect because this light is so strong from the top that it doesn't make sense for the piece to be so dark in general, just because there's going to be bounce light everywhere from dust from the surrounding environment. So like from a technical standpoint, it was not reading right for me as well. I'm gonna make a duplicate layer here just so that, yeah, just so that I can have a frame of reference. Yep, there we go. So I'm trying to see if there's a way to make it more creative. Uh, I'll like, of course, because it's digital, I can always just try different things. So like if I could do something like this. I don't. I feel like there's something nice about having the high vertical. Like what I mean by this is there's a lot of space up there. Creates a really cool effect where the world is like again like overwhelming this character that's sleeping. So like one thing that to note whenever you're making deciding on a composition is that, like, let's say you do something like this, right? What am I saying when I do this, as opposed to something else? So even the way you frame what you're drawing will tell a lot about what you're trying to say for the character or the subject matter that you're going for. So like already I see a little bit of improvement here. I'm just the figure itself. I feel like it's pretty. Honestly, it's pretty solid. There's like I mean like I would probably fix the lighting a little bit just so that it's a little bit. It feels a little bit more correct when it comes to a strong lighting, but other than that, like right now, it's reading a lot better. So, if you're new to the stream, like, feel free to ask questions in the Wolves Den channel, uh, or else I'm just going to keep talking to myself here. So, the point of these streams is just to be a little bit more separate from my coffee grind tutorials. So, like, I can just do live answers and stuff. So, hopefully, I can give some of my input from people's questions and stuff. So now that the golem, like if you saw my original one, now that my golem is out of the picture, I feel like um, I need to denote some sort of, I need to denote some sort of, something in the background. Now, what I mean by this is just anything to sort of make it a little bit more interesting. I can even use some of the patterns that I had for the golem that I just erased, and really just add a few things. So like, I'm not too. This is supposed to be an abandoned like crypt type of thing, like a catacomb. So like, I could get away with like broken like stone and that sort, like just weirder patterns that you wouldn't see anywhere else. So like, even like, I'm feeling like a curve here. I'm feeling like a diagonal. Right? I mean like that sort of thing. So well, that sort of thing is like I can justify what these diagonals are later on, but for now I really want to at least create that those into the piece so that I can have something to work with here. So I'll even just add a few textures. These are just temporary, but like I'm feeling a lot of dust in the air type of things, so I want to just add them in as soon as possible. Just give it a little bit more flair. If I'll probably like again like one of my criteria with working is just making sure that my colors and textures are on the canvas as soon as possible. I want to get away from a blank canvas. Now, of course, because this is a refurbished piece. So like I'm working something from like an older piece. Is there's already something to work with, which is always a good thing. But if you're making a new piece, it's like you ever see me. I just always just slam down whatever I need as soon as possible. So here I'm trying to think if there's a way to adjust the colors a little bit so that, yeah, even something like this. So it is a cliche of mine to make it very blue, but in this particular case, I really feel like the blue works. Like, one problem I had from my older work is just that a lot of things are a little bit too muddy. So because around this time I was just concentrating on make like just it was like the start of my really abstract, like more painterly style, and like a lot of times I'm not thinking about the colors and stuff. I'm just trying to get the textures right, so I miss out on like stuff like colors and that sort of thing. So even like I'm here. I'm just like again like they're just because I am like moving things around. It creates these remnants that I want to just cover as soon as possible. Use them to my advantage in certain cases. Just seeing what will work here. So I'm contemplating if I need to add some sort of source of light. So I'm I'm not really feeling it, but I'll try it anyways. Like even just having like just sticking brights in the top just to see if something sticks. That's a little bit too strong. Um, I feel like it takes away from the character. I'm gonna pass on that, but yeah, ideas will start sparking in my head as I go along here, just so that like every so often, like where you should just sit back and see if something might be better, like some ideas might be better or not. A lot of times you'll find that ideas will like you like if you find any professional that tells you they know exactly what something looks like right from the get go, then they're probably lying because there's most of the time you're probably gonna figure things out as you go along. There needs to be a hint of a background for sure. I'm not. I don't think this is. Yeah. So what I will probably do right now is just I'm gonna go on Pinterest and I'm gonna get some reference for a catacomb, like an abandoned church or something, abandoned church or catacomb, just to see if there's a way to create more epic lighting. So I'll even show you the process here. I mean, like, a big part of it is just finding references to see if something works. Like, see something like this, right? Like, being able to see exactly um, what it might look like here would be really useful to help. Here, Ritz, add there. But yeah, in general, like even stuff like doing a quick search and finding like a picture like this will help a lot in like just visualizing what a a environment might look like, and a lot of times you really have to just get reference midway, like as you figure things out, just so that you can see what might inspire you. So I'm not feeling the window thing. Am I? I'm not too sure. Maybe even would it help? I'm just going to be testing a few things. Like would it just anything to visualize it. That's not working. No, I feel like it's just there's something the way I create this glow. I don't really like putting the light source anywhere. It just feels a little bit awkward. So there's some places for it, but this is not the case. So again, if you have any questions, please let me know while I'm doing this, just so that I don't. I tend to run out of things to just talk about because it becomes very automatic after. But I usually just start off with a ton of stuff to say just because just to describe what I'm trying to do and what my thought process is. But once I get there, once I talk about all of it, then there's not much to say afterwards. So there needs to be a bit more. Yes, I always paint with one layer. It's something that people ask me. Now of course that's not to say like literally one layer, right? Um, and what I mean by that is sometimes like if I'm experimenting, let's say I'm gonna add like windows or something, like you saw me before. I was like experimenting with like adding windows and stuff. I would most likely make a new layer on top of it, just because like if I screw up, then I can always just erase it right with that layer. But if I know if I make a decision that is really that I know for sure is going to be part of the piece, then I would most likely just merge it all in one layer. And the reason why I do that is because um first of all, I'm more of a traditionalist. Second of all, mixer brushes are basically a special kind of brush that moves the paint around the canvas that's already on the piece. Um, it's just a lot more convenient if you use them on one layer rather than having to deal with a ton of layers. Like, yeah, mixer brushes are really, really important part of my work. So it is akin to like moving wet paint on the canvas. So like merging all the layers together makes it just a little bit easier to mess with. So right now for me, I'm still thinking whether I should add like a window or something. Like now that I see the reference of the church, I'm even thinking there might be a more interesting way to design this piece. So what I mean by this is if I put like a hmm, this is giving me ideas. Give me a second. So my take on it is the character does not need to be that big on the canvas. Like compared to my old work, I feel like it's a little bit too large. Especially for what I'm trying to do. Like we get the point. Like even when it's a little bit smaller, like that this character's sleeping. We don't need to see we don't need to have her that big for us to kind of get the point. So that means that I can start playing around more with the environment. So the church kind of gave me an idea because I kind of like the way, if you missed out on the reference here, like I kind of like the way this is shining like that. Um, but of course, because I am like I have to take into mind the character. I have to make sure that the window does not take too much attention from the character. But even something like this, I'll even just make it a little bit more blue. I think I need to blue this up a little bit. Like give it a little bit blue here. Oh god, that. Yeah, just gonna tone it down a little bit from white. You don't want to ever use pure white uh, in a lot of cases. So even something like that, it looks like I'm ruining it, but like, bear with me. This is I am trying, like it comes down to experimentation a lot of times. So, like, so I don't know what the pattern will be, but I'm feeling some sort of like weird, like I don't want to make it too generic. Just even adding a, like, maybe taking some of that the vines patterns from here and just bringing it up here. This is really laggy. I'm probably just gonna use an opaque brush here. So, like, right now it might not seem like it's doing is helping at all, like, but uh, I'm gonna merge it all in one layer so it's easier to work with. So the question now is how much of the light should be seeping in. I'm almost thinking it should be like, it should be very limited. Like, there shouldn't be like a massive amount of light going through towards this character. And what I mean by this is, like, I could make it just a pure circle if it's just an open window, but I'm not feeling it. There should be a lot more interrupting the light, something like this, just so that it makes it a little bit more ominous. Here, I'm gonna blue it up a little bit. So now I did that, then I can, what I need to do is, I mean, I'm looking at my reference. I will need to darken the patches a little bit, just because before I had the lighting up from the top here. Now I'm gonna put it right at the church window here, or whatever. So this means that the sides would be a little bit darker in comparison. I can always introduce the dusty effect, but for now I'm just gonna darken it back like that, like that. Yeah, I already see that there needs to be something in the foreground now because I did that. But I feel like this has a lot more potential than the previous one, just because, for one, I've done that lighting quite a while. If you're a patron and you were watching my streams and stuff, a lot of the lighting I do is the god ray from the top of the screen type of thing, and I feel like it's a little bit overdone. Just because, like, if it's part of this one book, then I don't want to. Like, how to say, I don't want to just have all my pieces of that lighting. So just having something more varied will be helpful in give it a little bit of variety towards it. So if I'm gonna have the lighting here like this, then it means that there's gonna be lit patches somewhere here, just so that is a little bit more realistic here. So the character now is a little bit too bright for me. Um, I'm gonna tone it down a little bit, because if we now that we have a light source here, the light source will always be stronger than the subject matter that they that they shine on. So, like, I can't have the light source be weaker or feel weaker. So first and foremost, I'm gonna take out some of that white here. I need to make it very blue. Frick, I'm gonna, yeah, I have to, yeah, just blue it up a little bit here. I'll figure out the pattern, but I do like the more varied pattern. I could have made the window like the generic, like, cross, whatever, in the church, but I feel like it's a little bit too boring. So what we'll do, I'm considering making this character even smaller. And there's a good reason why. Um, just because uh, oh wait, would it work? No, I don't think it works anymore. Hmm. How about this? I'll try shining light on it first and seeing what works. Yeah. I feel like it's one of those decisions where I'll have to fix everything else before I try to do it. So now I'm trying to think if there's a more, like, interesting way to compose it. Yeah, there's gonna be a lot of this, like, digital type of movement just because I went in not knowing what I'm expecting. I could even just like throw this out. It's been like 30 minutes. It's not a big deal if I end up throwing this piece out and redoing the piece here. But as of now, I'm so it's a little bit too strong. What can I do here? I'm questioning right now, like if I'm going sign. I'm really thinking about like, is this window the best way of portraying what I want to say here? And it could be because I feel like the window should be higher up compared to the figure. So something like this, it makes it a little bit more realistic. It makes it a bit more epic. Um, because obviously church windows tend to be uh, like pretty high, like higher up onto closer to the ceiling rather. Um, you'll like I feel like it's one of those things because they wanted to give a sense that God is watching them or whatever. Like that's the religious like connotation from that. So like having it too close to the figure might kill that feeling. So even bringing it down a little bit helped a little. Um, so it's those really subtle storytelling elements that like you kind of get ideas from just looking at reference and just understanding how why did people make churches this way type of thing, right? So yeah, like even for my reference, like the windows are pretty high up, so like moving the figure downwards to make the window higher feel a little bit higher makes it a little bit more towards gives that impression a little bit better. Okay, just gonna merge the layers again. This one is definitely a lot more difficult than the one I refurbished yesterday, which was just a portrait. This one is like, um, while I see there was potential, it's like I knew it was going to be a difficult one, and I might even figure out better ideas as I like off stream, and then just completely scrap this. But right now, it's not too bad. The I wish I could describe the storytelling elements, but then I'll be spoiling my own book. So like there's a reason why I don't wanna like say exactly why I'm doing certain things, but like there are storytelling elements that I have to consider whenever I do something for like a book or whatever. So right now I'm gonna add dust. This is a very it's a rusty like old like environment. So like there's always going to be these dust particles in the air. I'm not too worried about how nice it looks and such, but it should be fine. here. I think the altar is a little bit too high as well. I mean, yeah, it's a little bit too tall, I mean. So I'm going to bring it back down a little bit. So if it's shining from the back here, there's gonna be a little bit of shadow here. I gotta denote the shadow of the altar, and then everything else will be lit because it's like, if you can picture, it's like coming from the distance towards the camera, something like that. Of course, it dissipates as it goes there. So here I could get away with a little bit more subtle lighting here. Other than that, it is coming together here. So now I'm looking at the reference. I think this background's still a little bit too dark, but at the same time, I can't. So like I'm looking to add details in the background here, just to make it a little bit more interesting to look at. But even then, I can't. I have to ensure that it doesn't take away from the actual character here. Yeah, something like that. Yeah, I could even just have vines and stuff. I'm picturing like if anyone played Nier Automata, like there's a castle like just a bit through the game, and like the castle was very overgrown with plants and stuff. I'm picturing that in my head right now. Yeah, there's a lot of remnants here. This is what happens when you redo a piece too much here. Oh god. It is coming together. There's just nagging problems with like, oh god. Now I'm not really liking, yeah. Yeah, like I'm feeling a dark patch here. Like sometimes again, like I just want to put it in the canvas here, just so that there's something to work with. But I'm feeling there has to be something right in the center dark here, just to break up the shape. It's a little bit too, how do I say it? Is the rounded nature of that window is a little bit too much. It's just taking away. It's just too distracting. So there could be like a pattern. Like if, for instance, I could have like a insignia here or something where it's like I don't know, like a dragon, just anything to just justify this new dark patch I put in. Again, sometimes I just feel like you don't want to like take too much time to just justify every single thing. Sometimes you just have to put the color down just so that you're just so that there's something to work with, like when you're feeling something, feeling a certain pattern in the picture. Yeah, this is... It's still not interesting enough. It's okay, I go in these streams like having no clue how things will look. So even like I'll try like even adding more windows and seeing if it works. Certainly makes it a bit more interesting. But try it's a little bit off. Thank you. Personally, I don't think it's there yet. There's still something really weird about it that I'm not too fond of. It's one of those pieces where it's like it seems very easy, like it's like a window and stuff, but to make it interesting, to maximize its composition, there has to be something. Like, again, like, it's like, sometimes I would just, like, slam colors down just so that I can, just so that there's something to work with and just experiment if something else will be better. Oh, hmm. Yeah, my problem with this piece is, it's, how do I say it? There's, it doesn't feel overbearing enough. If this piece is, if I'm trying to describe a story where the world is overbearing on her, then I feel like the light needs to be really strong. There has to be something. There has to be something where we feel there's an overpowering presence, and because I remove the golem from the initial piece. I don't have that presence anymore. So like, what I did here just now is I'm just going like just slamming the light here, but I'm gonna make the window a little bit bigger, like something like this. Um, Now there is consideration, like what an idea I have right now. So like obviously I don't want to just copy and paste this, but uh, so what I'm looking to do is sometimes I would just go on Google and I will get like an image like this. Oh, this is a PNG. I need something with a white background too. Would be better. So yes, this is sort of cheating, but obviously, if it works out, I am going to remake the texture so that it's a little bit more, obviously more something workable here. So I don't get sued by whoever made this pattern. So even something like this, just trying to feel if it's gonna fit with the piece or not. Honestly, it doesn't look too bad. Like, if I'm gonna blur it out a little bit just to make it a little bit more interesting, to fit the piece a little bit more. Yeah, just gonna add a bit of blue here. Just again, like I'm looking to just get an impression of what it might look like. I'm not looking for perfection here. Doesn't look half bad, honestly. So yeah, it's one of those concept arty things where sometimes you just have to go with your your intuition, and sometimes you might get some ideas that will seem to work. Uh, it's there's still something really wrong with this piece. If anything, you get to see what happens when I screw up a painting, and this is one of those instances where um, it's very close to my intuition of just scrapping it all together uh, feeling here, but I want to give it a little bit more attempts before I assume that. Um, just because it's not like one of the things to consider is just again like the storytelling. Like obviously, I can't really say exactly what the story is for the book, but like it, there's a lot of considerations when it comes to just to illustration like this. It's not just whether it's technical or not. It's just saying the right things, and right now I'm not feeling it. Um, yeah. So like sometimes I would just go back to some of my older versions to see if it's better to just go with the initial one, just because again like that. Why I do like the circle, what was happening was it was taking away from the actual character, and there are some instances where you would use that type of composition, but this one I just don't see it. Uh, I can't justify the huge circle like pattern on top of her, so so you can see like even like that right there, I would just erase all my work. That was like 20 minutes of work, but either way, it was important for me to test it out and see just how far I can push it before I realize it's not working. So like for me right now, I'm just feeling this lighting a bit more, even though it's a bit cliche, but there's something about like the putting in the light source that was not working for me. So yeah, of course, if you have any questions regarding the process or anything else like art related, just let me know. I'd be happy to help, even though you saw me noticeably screwing up this piece. I very rarely use eyeball perspective or use grids now. A lot of times I'm more of a loose painter. I really just I like one thing I talked about to other people was I once you learn perspective, you kind of want to forget about it because you don't want to have the perspective get into your head when you're making compositions, right? Um, so like what I mean by this is like perspective can't like technical perspective can get in the way of just a better composition, a better artwork. So for me, my impression is just to use my intuition with when it comes to like perspective. So I don't use grids. References I will use. But again, like even when I get reference, I will most likely just change a lot of things just because a photograph should never be like the perfect perspective or the perfect composition rather. There's always ways to improve on it. And if you just copy reference one to one, it just doesn't seem to work. Um, so you're like yes, I do use reference. I will try my best to avoid just copying it. In this particular case, I do have reference. It's just that um I'm kind of winging it right now just because I don't know where the files for the references are. This is an old piece, so I when I need reference, I'll just search it on Pinterest and such. This is not a piece I should have done on stream. Like it is a really like it's a really deceptively tough piece because like again to make this interesting now it's really difficult. There's nothing wrong with this like from a technical standpoint. It's just not interesting. Um, the golem in the background was actually helping towards making it a bit more interesting than it should be. This one is a little bit. I'm not liking this. Like, is there a way to like raise the composition or something? No. There's something very like there has to be something here. I would even sometimes just like even something like this. I said I didn't want to do the landscape thing, but like now I'm just feeling it. Yeah, it's. Yeah, I'm gonna try it. I have the original file, so I'm not too worried about just changing the entire composition like this. But I wasn't. I was really not feeling that. Like honestly, like when I removed the golem, it just completely changed the perception of how I think the piece should look like. So even so, like this, like how big the character is, how where this character's situated, it matters a lot. And like for me, like what like it's just like it's those intuition things where it just pops out in my head as I work. This is actually not too bad. So what I can do here now is I can even just add like foreground elements and that sort of thing. I'm even thinking this could be smaller. Having the perfect size on the character is a big deal here. No, does it work? Columbus says it's interesting to see you change the original concept that much to see how it can improve. I really don't dare change it that much. You're making me challenge myself seeing your process here. The thing is like this is an old piece as well, so like when I'm doing things on the when I'm in the creation of the piece, a lot of times that I get a little bit scared of making really drastic changes. But because this is a piece that I did a year ago, I really don't have much like I don't have much of a stake at hand to uh, to make this amazing. So I don't get like I would take a lot more risks and I would change a lot more things just because worst case scenario this piece is never going to see the light of day, right? Like if I find out like all these changes just doesn't save it, then I'll probably just make a new piece. But um a lot of times like I'm willing to change concepts on the fly like crazy because I'll sooner like screw up a billion times to get a perfect painting than to like uh just just accept something and then just say oh it's done, like I don't want to work on this piece anymore type of thing. So and also from my concept art like experience, like concept art like you're dumping paintings like crazy and you're changing paintings like a lot, so it's not a big deal for me to just like give up on the like this some sort of concept, try new things and that sort of thing. Yeah, there's some merit to the window. um my problem is that uh there's storytelling elements that I don't want to mention just because of course again like this is for a book, so there's some consideration of the actual storyline that this illustration has to fit in. But yeah, there's not really much wrong with the window one. It's just like I just not feeling it from a storytelling perspective. It's one of those things where you have to think about, like, you have to think about it from a, like, a lot of times, like, it's a lot of people think now, like, it's just about pretty pictures, right? You just get things right and you can sell the artwork. But, like, once you get to a certain point, it's really not about the technical side of things. Like, if it looks cool, that's just half the battle, right? It has to say what I want to say, and if it's not saying what I want to say, I don't care how nice it looks. Even though, like, I completely agree with you, the window is very interesting. It's just that I wasn't. It just didn't, like, if I'm picturing the novel, that, like, the storybook I'm making, right, and I'm reading the text in my head, would it fit the text that I wrote for it? And the answer was probably not. So yeah, it's one of those things where it's like, yeah, you have to make tough decisions, and sometimes it's like, something could be technically right, but just not appropriate for the particular situation. So I'm considering something like this. Hmm. Would it be better when it's down here? What would I put on top? Yeah. So what I'm feeling right now is, ooh, this one is very tough. Like, this might be the hardest one I've done on stream. I've done a lot of refurbished pieces, but this one in particular is causing a lot of problems. Um, just because I have to consider the fact that it's trying to say a story here. Um, it's much harder than I initially thought. I'm honestly feeling something like this, even. Like, I feel like putting her at the top of the canvas is not really working for me. So what I could do here is I, so what I'm picturing now is that I need something where, because this is a broken down church, right? I'm not really getting that feeling from the initial, like, all the attempts I did right now. I need, like, stuff like rubble. I just need something so that it denotes the fact that um the characters who are finding this sleeping woman is, like, they're going through a lot of rubble. So, like, even something like this, like, again, I don't really care what this rubble is. I just need to have it, like, I need to just put it into the composition just so that I have a frame of reference here. So yeah, like, I'm feeling this one because now for the story that I'm trying to say, this is a lot more appropriate than all the other previous attempts that I had. Like, the stuff with the window and stuff, the initial composition, the thing is, it was a little bit too, it was just a little bit too clean. For an environment that's supposed to be abandoned for centuries, which is, I guess this is a minor spoiler, but, like, I need to know that that the characters are going through a lot of rubble just to get there. I would even consider, like, even just putting it a little bit farther away type of thing. Um, like that sort of thing. Like that. So now it's a lot more appropriate for the story. Yeah, I'm liking this. This has a lot of potential here. A lot of potential. So it might have taken an hour to figure this out, but like it was well worth it because again, like we have to be very stingy when it comes to storytelling, and it's not good to just gloss it over. This is looking like, yeah, there. This is something I could probably just do off stream, but like this is definitely something I would say has much more flair to, like the storytelling elements are going to read a lot better here than the other previous versions. Uh, Something like that. So there's rays of light. I'll probably have to I'll redo the foreground here, but I just wanted something where I can feel like there's a crypt. It feels like there. Oh God. Something like that. The size of the character compared to the frame, like the overall frame, is going to be a big consideration as I work on this. I'll most likely be changing it quite a bit, but other than that, like I feel like this fits the story a lot more for what I need. Like this stream has been like it's less impressive than it's less impressive than the ones where I just kind of foobar it and like a painting appears. That seems to work. But this one was genuinely pretty difficult to think about on the fly. So like if anything, this shows that like even I can make mistakes, and even I would be willing to dump paintings just for a variety of reasons, and like it's not. It is a good way to show everybody that like the storytelling elements are just so important that I'm willing to give up a lot of the concepts just so that I can push it a little bit further. Yeah, the shapes of the rubble here will matter a lot just to give the impression of where she is right now. Other than that, like I would maybe just merge the layers here and just make sure that the top of the composition is a little bit darker here. There we go, something like that. There's gonna be dust here, so something like that. Yeah, consideration also is like how like there's real merit to from a storytelling standpoint to even do something like this, like where like if we have characters that are getting like they're coming into the scene and they see something, it could be even something like this, but that could be a consideration. Like just goes to show there's a lot of ways to tell the same story, but it's a matter of just being optimal with the just seeing what works and what doesn't. Like, it goes back to the same mentality as I said before, where the girl here, the woman here, doesn't need to be that big for us to know that it's like someone sleeping. So is it better to have it like this versus like this? So it's only, yeah, there's a lot of there's a huge consideration to do something like that. So at this time, I'm looking to end the stream soon. So like, feel free to ask any last minute questions before I just wrap this up. This was a very fun one because you get to see me screw up. It's like a lot of times screwing up is a lot more fun than just getting it everything properly on the first try. Cause for sure, like it's never going to be that easy ever. Yeah. Everyone here today just basically saw me go through like 20 thumbnails. That's really it. So many drafts, so many different versions of having this one character do this that like this is basically the basis of concept art. If anybody's wondering, it's like there's just so many ways to describe your concept, and like a lot of times you have to experiment. You have to really go down the list of every possibility to find something that will work. And or at least optimal. Like technically, all the other versions worked per se. It's just it's not what I would say is optimal, and like optimal is the most important part. Once you get a certain point, like yeah. So Columbus asks, how do you incorporate storytelling into your illustration like that? What type of factors do you keep in mind when doing a concept like this? Give me a second, I need to drink some water here. That's why I kind of had a minor hiccup there. Okay. So incorporate storytelling into illustration. Like obviously, because this is for a book, I can't really say exactly what I'm trying to say here. But hopefully throughout the stream you did get an impression of what I'm expecting from it. So what type of factors do you keep in mind when doing a concept like this? Number one, it's always mood and atmosphere, right? So you're always looking to get the right mood. And that comes down to literally every single aspect of art. So like, how big is the subject matter? What is the framing? What is the composition? What are the colors? Everything comes down to that in my mind when I'm making a concept like this, right? So one thing you might have not seen me change today was the fact that it was very blue. And the reason why is because the blue works for the story here. So basically I'm going down the list of all the art aspects of art, like color, values, that sort of thing. And I'm reading the text in my head for this passage, this illustration. Is the blue working? Is the blue telling the story that I want? So in this case, it's a very abandoned, like very rundown church type of environment. So blues work here. So I would put a check mark in my head for that. Then you go down the list. It's like values. Okay, are the values creating this epic feeling? And you see me throughout today. The values didn't really change that much either, other than adding the window and those sort of things. But other than that, like it's still very bright, very chiaroscuro. So I put a check mark there. But then you start to go down the list of stuff that isn't working. So composition-wise, you saw me go from portraiture to landscape, and like you saw me doing all these things, like the size of the character was changing every minute, type of thing, right? So so basically, like, my point is, like, everything matters when you are doing when you are trying to incorporate storytelling into your illustration. But to make it easier for yourself, like I would always just sort of go down, like, I have a make believe, like, check mark, like list of things in my head, and I just go one by one, judging it one by one, to see if what is on the canvas right now is helping the story, or it's going against the story. So let's say if colors were wrong, like, I feel like when I'm thinking about colors now, it's like, oh, it's not telling the right story. Then I'll try to adjust the colors to make it a little bit. Let's say I'll do red or something. This sort of, like, if I make it red here, you see that it tells an entirely different story. So let's say this is the story I want to tell. So then I'll go down to, okay, there's values working, all that. So basically, um, and in terms of, like, what, just because, like, you didn't really ask, but what inevitably gets asked afterwards is, what is right and what is wrong for the certain atmosphere and mood that you're going for. And the answer is, everybody has their own way of telling the story, right? So, like, they would, like, everyone has their own way, based on their experiences, based on how they do art, on how to tell a certain story. So, like, even if I give you the exact description, the exact text of this particular scene, you will most likely do something entirely different. Maybe you think red is better, like red, like, or maybe you have a tendency to make portrait instead of landscape pieces. So, like, like, what you deem as right, what you deem as wrong will be varied, depending on who you are, and, like, there's really no right or wrong answer, only for yourself. And well, I guess there is a wrong. If your audience is getting the entirely different impression of your story, then that is wrong, right? But as long as you're within the realm of what they accept for your story, like, your colors are reading a certain way, your composition is reading a certain way, then yeah, you like, then, like, yeah, it would be something that would be correct. So hopefully that answers your question. It's a very heavy-handed question, because there's so many aspects when it comes to storytelling that it's like, it's just not possible for me to just describe, like, every angle of it. Like, everybody just has their own way of telling stories. Like, it's not as simple as it seems. But at the same time, like, if you go with your intuition, you'll eventually hit something that will work for you. Are there any other questions or comments before I'll wrap things up here? What I feel here is that there's a lot of potential here. So, like, this is a very good start to my refurbishing, but it's definitely not as easy as the ones I did before, which I basically winged on the first try and got really well, like, done really quickly. This one is much more difficult, much more nuanced. I would say it's just so, like, it's kind of embarrassing for me to kind of screw up so many times, but it's part of the job. Like, you don't really see the screw ups I do. Like, a lot of times it's like I would screw up many times before something kind of reads right here. No, don't worry. Yeah. I try my best to answer as detailed as I can. Uh, yeah, this has a lot of potential. This is definitely, so, like, this might be, like, in terms of, like, what the, okay, yeah, I kind of screwed up the canvas there, but in terms of, like, technical side, it wasn't that issue. It's more like, am I saying the story? And this time around, like, this version of it, I feel like it's telling exactly what I want. Um, Obviously, I will have to clean it up a bit and just add a lot more things going on. But other than that, this is like you can see the at least like not as impressive when it comes to like oh making a painting in 1 hour, but you can see that my thought process on experimentation and just seeing if I could change a story and just optimize what I'm trying to say for a particular storytelling passage here. So hopefully you found this helpful, um, even if it's a little bit like the composition kind of was it's more of an experimentation thing, but there's a lot of like good things going on in this particular version. So this is probably where I'm gonna be heading off with. Yeah, I see this working. Yeah, I see it. Like I'm picturing it in my head. But for now, I will end the stream because it is an hour and a half in. Yeah, thank you very much, Columbus. Yeah. The mood. The thing is, like, the mood is like a lot of times, like people think the mood is just colors and values and stuff, but you can see like this is the one. This is a piece where if there's any better, there's no better indication here to prove that mood is not just the colors and values, because that's what everyone associates with. It's sort of like, oh, red is danger, blue is calm, that sort of thing. Um, but this particular stream is a good example of what to debunk that. It's not just the colors and values. It's the way you arrange your subject matter has a lot to do with how you're trying to portray something, and this was a very, very good indication of that. And I'll most likely get more reference afterwards off stream and just continue working on this because this one reads a lot better than what I had before. So yeah, at this point I'll say I will end the stream here, but hopefully you enjoyed watching. Thank God OBS didn't crash this time. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next